Hello, everybody. People in the back.
Classic. Hey everyone, how's it going? Woo, yeah.
In the back, can you raise your hand if you can hear really well? Love
Awesome.
it, love that.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Inner Loop, our monthly, reading. Thanks, guys. Our monthly reading event. We are very pleased to have you. How many of y'all is this your first time coming to the Inner Loop? All right, a couple new faces. Very nice. Love to see it. Welcome. We like to keep it casual, as you can see. We like to encourage community, family-style seating. Everybody just sit and chat with one another. I'll back it up. I'm Courtney, and this is Rachel. We are the co-founders, and so that's why you're seeing our faces at the moment. We have a couple of announcements. I'll let Rach start with that.
I also want to say, for anybody who's never been to an Inner Loop reading, we believe all writers of all experience levels deserve access to the same stage. So tonight we will be hearing from writers of the whole spectrum of experience levels in publishing, and that's part of what we do. Coming up, we are about to celebrate 11 years of the Inner Loop. April 22nd, we will have a big party. What we do is we invite readers from the last year to come back and read flash readings, 2 minutes each. It's very frenetic and fun. And we also do tabling with local artists and tarot card readers sometimes. And this time it's going to be in a very special location.
Also, we did not plan the matching outfits. That just tends to happen after 11 years. So, but yeah, we'll be hosting our anniversary event at the Goethe Institute here in DC on 14th Street. It's a beautiful space, and we are lucky to be engaged in a partnership with them right now, wherein writers can go and just hang out and write and work and have a space that is quiet and accessible and free. And really beautiful. So if you are interested in the Writer's Nook at Goethe, please just shoot us a note and we can give you the details, and you're welcome to be in there during open business hours. But if you don't get there before then, we'll see you at the anniversary event.
Before that, we have a panel this Saturday at the Writers Center featuring our Author's Corner Author of the Month, Varun Gauri. He and a previous Author's Corner author, Lynn Kruger, and two people from Washington Writers Publishing House, the co-presidents, are all going to be on a panel, and they're going to talk about independent publishing from both sides, from the author side and from the publisher side. So if you have a book and you've been thinking about should I independently publish or not, this is the panel for you. You can come bring all the questions you've been dying to ask about independent publishing. That's on Saturday at the Writers Center at 2, 3, what is it, Varun? 2 p.m.
Yes. Lastly, for this evening, really quickly, actually before the rundown, we also have our annual summer residency program that we do in partnership with the Woodlawn and Pope Leahy House and Arcadia Center for Sustainable Food and Agriculture that is out in Northern Virginia. Applications for that program will open on April 1st, so be on the lookout if you're interested in spending a week on site there, writing and working and being a part of a pretty cool community. Lastly, the way this evening goes, for those of you who haven't been here, you listen to us chat for a little bit. We will hear from our featured reader this evening, Linda. We'll do our first round of readings, take a little break for an intermission so you all can all chat each other up, go out and reach out to the authors who you've heard already, and then we'll come back for the second half. So with that, Rich? One more thing.
Just one more thing. We are big fans of shameless self-promotion.
Correct.
So if you're coming up here and you're reading and you've got a book or a blog, or you just want people to come say hi to you, you can let everybody know where to find you, where to find your work. We encourage it. We love it.
Absolutely. So with that, we'd love to welcome Linda Chavez. This evening, she is the author of The Silver Candlesticks, a novel of the Spanish Inquisition. Her fiction has been published in Commentary, Red Rocks Review, and she wrote a weekly syndicated column for 3 decades that's a feat, that appeared in newspapers across the country. In 2000, Chavez was honored by the Library of Congress as a living legend for her contributions to America's cultural and historical legacy. In January 2001, she was President George Bush's nominee for Secretary of Labor until she withdrew her name from consideration. Chavez was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1947, received a Bachelor of Arts degree in English Literature from the University of Colorado in 1970, and an MFA in Creative Writing from locally the George Mason University in 2012. And she currently resides here in Silver Spring. We're really happy to have you here this evening, Linda. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Courtney and Rachel, and it is a pleasure to be here, my very first time. I'm really just learning about the inner loop. I've spent my life in politics, not necessarily in literature, so I'm getting to learn this world as well, and it's really a privilege to be here tonight. I actually wrote my book first as my thesis for my MFA at George Mason University. Alan Shoes was my thesis advisor, and Alan encouraged me to write this novel after I was featured on Finding Your Roots, Henry Louis Gates Jr.'s show on PBS. I was on an episode, actually the last episode in the very first year of that program, and I discovered on that show that, unbeknownst to me, I knew my family had come from Spain in 1597 to what is now New Mexico, but I just assumed they were adventurers, and coming like many of the Spaniards did. It turned out they were converso Jews, and they were fleeing the Inquisition. So thanks to that research and doing a little digging, I decided to write this novel. So I'm going to read to you the opening. It's the prelude to the novel, which actually sort of sets the stake for the novel. The novel is really a love story and a story of faith and persecution, but I set the opening in the very first auto de fe in Sevilla, Spain in 1481. 12 February 1481. Juana weaved through the crowd storming the Plaza San Francisco, hoping she could remain on the fringes. The young woman had become separated from her husband outside the silversmith's shop. She clutched the candlesticks to her breast as the angry Christians surrounding her shouted at the secret Jews, "The gates of hell await! Burn them! Repent and accept Christ before it's too late!" The screams were deafening. She wanted to cover her ears, but her hands weren't free. She wished she had given the heavy candlesticks to her husband, Ambrosio, to carry. Juana leaned back against the wall of a shop as the procession passed in front of her. First the bishop, his gold staff glistening in the noonday sun, then the inquisitor, 24 priests, and a handful of city officials. At the end of the line of dignitaries, the tall, hooded executioner led the yellow-robed prisoners by a long rope that bound them together. The crazed crowd fell in behind, shoving Juana along the narrow streets of Sevilla to the walls encircling the city. At the Torre del Oro, on the banks of the Guadalquivir, the stampede halted. Bodies crammed against her until Juana thought she would suffocate. A bony hand grabbed at her elbow, the long nails digging into her flesh. She twisted her torso to see whose hand it was, but a large man with a protruding stomach forced the fingers to release their grip as he trampled the person underfoot. Slowly, those nearest the gate squeezed through the stone archway, and Juana was again driven forward until she too emerged on the other side. Before her stood a large wooden platform erected along the banks of the river on a stack of tree trunks stripped of bark. She stared up in horror at the 6 men and 6 women bound to tall stakes by thick ropes that barely concealed their emaciated, near-naked bodies. She shut her eyes tight, but could not block out the voice of Inquisitor Alfonso de Oeda, shouting from the platform, Sevillanos, have I not warned you of the corruption in your midst? They who would defile the image of the Savior, are they not the sons and daughters of those who crucified him? She opened her eyes as the inquisitor paced the length of the platform, his black and white robes fluttering in the wind. Behind him, the white-haired priest of Iglesia de Santa Ana approached the first prisoner. Juana strained to hear his words, but they were lost in the roars of the crowd. The old priest stopped before each man and woman, leaning into them, his hands folded in prayer. The executioner, whose face remained hidden under his black hood, followed behind. In his fist, the man carried a stick attached to a short cord. His immense hands reminded Juana of the butcher from whom she purchased meat. "Do you see, my friends, we offer mercy to the Judaizers," the inquisitor bellowed from the edge of the platform. "If they would but reconcile themselves to the church, the executioner's garrote would spare them the pain of being burned alive. But they refuse." "Let them burn!" screamed the woman next to Juana. "You're not so high and mighty now," yelled a man. Someone behind Juana threw a stone toward the platform, nearly hitting her instead. She desperately wanted to run, but the press of bodies prohibited her escape, her eyes now fixed on the stage. "Stand back!" the executioner shouted, the garrote replaced by a torch. Screams went up from those closest to the platform. Juana felt herself falling backwards, as if pushed by a gigantic wave propelling the whole of humanity. But with the crowd packed so tightly together, she remained upright. When she looked up again, the twigs and branches piled around the prisoner's legs had begun to burn. First the outer edges, progressing inward until the flames caught the prisoner's rags. The sky filled with blackened smoke, and the air with shrieks of agony from the condemned. The flames reached higher, whipped by the wind. Still, she could not turn her eyes away until the smoke blinded her, and the stench of burning flesh made her gag. Move back, for the love of God!" screamed those closest to the platform as the heat scorched their faces. Again, she struggled to get away, but was hemmed in by those who wanted to stay until the last cries were silenced by the smoke and flames. In a matter of minutes, the intensity of the heat drove the crowd to disperse, their raucous shouts replaced by eerie quiet, as the chill February wind carried clouds of smoke and greasy soot across the river. Juana pulled her shawl tightly over her breast to better conceal the silver candlesticks and retreated across the wooden bridge to Triana. There she would live for the next 50 years, every day expecting the brutal knock upon her door that never came. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Now we will have 3 readers before our intermission. Reminder to readers to stick to your 5-minute limit. And don't be afraid to manhandle the microphone. It goes up and down and up and down. Points that way and this way and that way and this way. Okay. And this is a little handy light. That's it. All right. Kicking us off in nonfiction, Laura Carroll.
Can you all hear me? Yes. Excellent. All right, so I'm Laura Carroll. I am reading an excerpt from my travel memoir in progress titled The Hitchhiker's Guide to Pilgrimage. It's exactly what it sounds like. And I will be reading you the prologue. Okay, this better? Yes. Great. Think, Laura, you have options. I had dawdled here in this charming middle-of-nowhere village since my arrival a few hours earlier, resolutely exploring every scenic inch as I prayed for Deus Ex Machina to save me from myself. I thought about going back to the tourist office and grimaced. When I'd stepped in to ask about connections to my next destination, the young woman behind the counter rolled her eyes. "There's no bus to get there. You'll have to travel en stop." I hovered uncertainly, unsure if I'd understood correctly, and she jerked her thumb out in the universal gesture for hitchhiking. Then she pointedly turned back to her magazine. I was not worth more of her time. Voyager en stop. Hitchhike. She had said it so matter-of-factly, as though ghost stories about murdered hitchhikers weren't part of her childhood lexicon, as though getting into cars with strangers was something that normal people did. I shouldered my backpack and set off in a random direction, weighing my options. I wasn't a reckless person by nature. At 21, I was the most stereotypically bookish college student imaginable, and my nerd persona hadn't changed despite a year studying in Paris. Young women from the States are supposed to go through a transformation in the City of Lights. They're supposed to develop a sense of style and learn the secrets of makeup. They're supposed to keep strings of handsome boyfriends with names like Jacques and Pierre, who accompany them to the Louvre and the opera, and they're supposed to acquire an effortless savoir-faire that will make them the envy of their friends when they go home. This storied transformation had largely passed me by. My frizzy hair and unremarkable wardrobe were unchanged. I had spent the 2004-2005 school year in Paris studying art, music, and comparative pastry shops. And the only one of those that had made any difference in my appearance was the pastry. Think, Laura, you have options. What are they? I climbed the hill to a ruined castle and examined the damp stones as though they could give me guidance. The sensible thing to do, of course, would be to turn back. It wasn't as though my research proposal meant anything at this point. I'd already been told by an authority in the field that my thesis was complete bunk. I could take the bus back the way I had come, choose a new route based entirely on train and bus lines, cobble together something academic from whatever I found, and write an essay about literally anything other than my original thesis. For some reason, this option failed to inspire. I had known in the back of my mind that this was a possibility, that I would arrive in this tiny village in southern France and reach the end of the road. My well-laid plans had unraveled days ago, and I had made the decision to keep going regardless, fueled by some latent, stubborn streak. I'd been hoping when I checked in with the Office de Tourisme to find bus connections or shuttles that weren't publicized online, for some local secret to get from point A to point B. Unfortunately, the local secret seemed to be possession of a car. So, I could turn back. There was still time to make another decision, to find another bus or train to anywhere else in France. But I already knew that I wouldn't do that. I would explore this village and delay the inevitable, but the die was already cast. Heart-pounding, pretending confidence, I waited by the road for the next passing car. I held out my thumb. The car slowed, stopped before me. I got in. Thank you.
Next in poetry, Nancy Arbuthnot.
Thank you all for being here, and Interlude for having me. I am going to be reading 3 poems from my manuscript, Above the Abyss, which is a parenting memoir of raising kids in Washington, D.C. Let me show you my beat, he says on our first date, opening the door of his gold Carmen Ghia, rolling the windows down to the sweet pink Washington spring. Pink petals curl on the windshield as we wind along Rock Creek. The general in the center of the circle en masse, ramrod upright, hat in hand, strides his stallion into the night. In rain just beginning to fall, a streetwalker sidles her pink umbrella close, but seeing me, spins off, whirling her umbrella, the fringe of stamped hearts blurring blood red, looping us tight, cinching us together forever, deep in the city's heart. Summer heat. It was a summer we lay on flowered sheets, sounds of the city drenching us in my fourth floor Adams Morgan walk up. Mornings I read novels, practice my flute, joy of man's desiring, the Anna Magdalena notebook. Evenings, shirt untucked, off-duty revolver bumping my arm draped around his waist. He teaches me the slow police walk, 1 block per hour. I, skimming the street in code of our own devising, tu quoi? We identify drug dealers, pimps, and johns. Men on riot-torn corners lean against lampposts, nodding almost imperceptibly in recognition. Across the Anacostia in far southeast, we roam projects built on marshland teeming with raccoons, possums, muskrats, snakes, back alleys sweet with marijuana, stinking of urine. In the parking lot of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, he shows me the best view of the city at night, Capitol Dome floating bright, free above the freeway, the gold Carmanguia where we first embrace, the clean machine of his body, powerful, full of grace. Off-duty revolver. The stories from the day waterfall, stolen autos, domestic arguments, needled arms, bodies limp in alleys, a mother on the front stoop yelling at her handcuffed son, another, too late, pulling the baby from scalding water she thrust him under, screaming. How do I tell of scraped knees, running noses, the toddler howling, the baby squalling, teeth pushing raw through red gums? How can I tell of casting my eyes down, gluing my hands to my sides as I shove past the closet, the silver gun, majestic, magnetic, high on the shelf? How do I tell of willing my feet to the kitchen, reaching high for Cheerios for supper again, little O's, little life rings, swimming in milk? Thank you.
Next in fiction, John DeDakis.
Can you all hear me? Yeah, there are a lot of people here. I'm John DeDakis. I'm going to read from my sixth and most recent novel, Enemies Domestic, which is based on the oath of office that presidents and people in public office are supposed to take. This particular book came out in the same week that the Supreme Court ruled that presidents have absolute immunity from prosecution for crimes they commit in office as part of their official duties. We just don't know what official duties mean right now. In this particular book, my protagonist, Lark Chadwick, is pregnant. She's ambivalent about being a single mom. Abortion is a crime, and a dictator becomes president. It could never happen, of course. So I'm going to read you a shortened version of the first chapter. I write as a woman, so realize that there's probably a 12-step program for this. All right. This is a dumb idea. That thought kept repeating itself as I stood next to President Will Gannon at the podium in the White House briefing room. No fewer than 100 of my former colleagues eyed the president and me. I was doing my best to keep my face impassive, but my stomach was churning, and not just because of my recurring morning sickness. A week ago, I'd been sitting in the most coveted seat in this briefing room, front row center as the White House correspondent for the Associated Press. Now I was about to be the voice of the presidency to my former colleagues, most of whom have advanced degrees in public policy and in some cases decades of experience covering politics. This is a dumb idea. Now, as Gannon was saying all kinds of wonderful things about me to the White House press corps, I prepared myself to face their questions for the first time. President Gannon turned to me and stepped back. "So, Lark, I'll get out of your way and let you do your job," he gestured grandly. "The podium is yours." As I watched the president leave the room, I felt lost at sea with the sharks circling. Lark Chadwick, 29, political neophyte, bumpkin from Wisconsin, had just been named White House press secretary. I opened my briefing book, took a deep breath, and squinted into the bright lights. This is a dumb idea, I thought to myself. "I'm much more comfortable asking the questions than answering them," I said to the ocean of upturned faces. "But I'll do my best. Fire away." It seemed as though everyone raised their hand and shouted my name at once. "Lark, Lark, Lark." Even though the tradition is to begin with the big network guns in the front row, I have a soft spot in my heart for the backbenchers, so I pointed blindly to a guy standing in the rear. "Lark," the guy began. He was in his 40s and wore a red bow tie. "Ever since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, states have been passing their own laws about abortion. It's legal in some states, severely limited in others, and illegal in more than a dozen. This comes at a time when you have just publicly revealed that you're pregnant with the child of a man who died 3 months ago of a heroin overdose." My knees nearly buckled. A few reporters, most of them women, groaned loudly. "My question," the guy continued, trying to power his way through the grousing, "are you or are you not planning to abort your unborn child?" I gripped the podium so tightly my knuckles turned white. Taking a deep breath, I began to speak. I'll stop there. Thank you. Just so you know, I'm selling copies of my books over there. Thank you.
Awesome, and before we get to intermission, Linda, your books will be available in June.
Wicked Sun.
Wicked Sun, and they're on pre-order. Books for sale over here at the table. And who else just said they had something? I'm promoting for you. You got to do it yourself, guys. Excellent. Great. Awesome. We'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Chat. Enjoy.
Hi guys, we gotta get started. I know, I never want to stop talking either, honestly.
I know my alarm went off like 5 minutes ago.
I know, Chris is having a good time. She's the one usually pulling me to the front.
I know.
Let me make sure I'm recording over there. You say something.
Okay. How's everybody feeling? Yes, a little more of that. Yes. Aside from the obvious impending doom, you don't have a program.
Okay.
Yes, so we're gonna get started back up with 6 more readers. We're just gonna announce the next one. Go for it.
Oh, can you grab my phone?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay, so in addition to our monthly readings, we also have this program called Author's Corner, where we feature an author who's recently published with a small to medium-sized independent press and their recently published book, and we feature them across all of our programming and in community collaborations across the city. and treat them like the rock stars that they are. So tonight's Author's Corner featured author is Varun Gauri. Go ahead and give him another applause. He's going to be, there's little postcards at the front with a QR code. There's also books for sale at the front. The QR code will take you to our website where we have loads of information about Varun, his book, and events that are coming up, including the one on Saturday. And you can buy his book for the blessings of Jupiter and Venus. Welcome, Varun.
Thank you so much, Rachel, Courtney, Abby, everyone at the Inner Loop. The Inner Loop has been really important to me in my progress in writing this novel, my sense of community, camaraderie, support. Really, really grateful for the community they brought together and everything that they do. I want to read tonight from my debut novel, For the Blessings of Jupiter and Venus. This is a novel that is a love story and comedy of manners. It's set in New Delhi, but mostly in Ohio, which is where I grew up. Just today, I heard from one of my high school friends who read the novel. His name is Arun. There were 3 Indian kids in this high school of 2000. Arun and I were debate partners, but for whatever reason, when I would make the U, it looked like a V, so we were known as Arvin and Varun in the debate circuit. Arun's mom read the book and she liked it. And Arun's mom and my mom were like in this sort of social Indian world where everyone would try and not spend too much money, you know what I mean? Sort of like, watch the pennies. And apparently people are reading my book, but they're reading one copy that's being passed around the whole community. So some things never change. So this book is about 2 young people who've dated other people, but choose to have an Indian marriage, traditional arranged marriage anyway. The first chapter is the wedding scene, and I'll read a few pages right from the beginning. Meena pushed aside her veil. The gold bangles, heavy on her wrists, slid and clinked. She feared the audience would find the gesture graceless, clumsy, but she had to see his eyes. She would in moments be the wife of this man in the groom's headdress. Maybe she already was his wife. The Vedic ceremony, hours of venerable ritual, had no vows, no exchange of rings, no single moment when choice, her will, exercised its prerogatives. Perhaps sensing her nervousness, Avi caught her eye and motioned across the temple ballroom. He was offering the wedding finery for reassurance. He pointed up at the beautiful mandap, adorned with white and pink carnations, yellow marigolds, and fragrant red roses. He was smiling warmly, and his expression seemed to say, "These old, magnificent powers guard over you." The betel nuts in the bowls of oranges, apples, and coconuts. The sandalwood incense. The ancient incantations of the priest, now pouring ghee into a bowl. The sacred fire burning at their feet. The expectant faces of all the lovely women in the audience. Sharp-tongued aunties in embroidered saris. The silly, sweet, nonsense uncles, Avi's father's friends. The communal pride. The coming feast with buttery spinach and tandoori kebabs. He was saying their wedding conjured every Bollywood movie ever made, every Indian story ever told. And her husband-to-be was right. Every year, millions of people married this way and went on to have fulfilling relationships and meaningful lives. Or anyway, one had to assume they were fulfilling. She and Avi hadn't spoken in days, though she had almost called him that morning. Waking up alone in the nondescript hotel, like any of the hundreds of interchangeable rooms she'd passed through for work, had been disorienting. She nearly headed to the gym to run on the treadmill, her habit before board presentations. But this was no business trip. She decided not to call him because she didn't know yet if Avi consoled well, or if talking to him would make her more nervous. Instead, she made herself coffee in the room. She convinced herself that arranged marriage wasn't strange. After all, could any woman say years later that on her wedding day she'd really known the man she was marrying? In the back, children were being children, shouting and darting between empty chairs in the last row. Avi's father was bowing to a man who sported a handlebar mustache, an aspect she and her sister once made fun of, but which now struck Mina as charming. On the other side of the ballroom partition, a waiter engaged his own small role in the pageantry, calling for more rice and napkins, this table, hurry up. The priest, a school director and retired accountant, there turned out to be no full-time Brahmin priests in small-town Ohio, asked them to recite Sanskrit phrases. Avi's voice boomed, prompting Mina's mother to look up, probably thinking, so will be a loud-talking husband. Mina let Avi's chants fill the ballroom, then spoke herself at low volume, her voice barely audible over the gas fire humming, the audience falling quiet to hear. She didn't know what she was chanting. Not that it mattered, as her mother might be the only one, other than the priest, who actually understood Sanskrit. For the blessings of the sun, the priest said in English, ladling ghee into the fire. The flames fizzled and flashed. Mina saw her toenails, lacquered in gold, gleam reflected fire. For the blessings of the moon, the priest invoked remote stars. He called upon the asteroids and Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mars. He declared that a wedding is a cosmic event, said it was the same fire and light in the stars and planets that were in the bride and groom, the same atoms vibrating, living and dying and being reborn. He talked for a while. Avinash, Mina, now you lead each other around the fire 7 times, the priest said. This is the Agni Pradakshina. These 7 circumambulations sanctify your marriage by the laws of Manu. As you walk, I will recite the vows of steadfast and lifelong loyalty. The priest instructed Mina to put her right hand into Avi's left. He explained that each step represented one of the great goods in marriage. Prosperity, progeny, perseverance, etc., etc. You'll know the others. Mina noticed her sister Vishali in the midst of a selfie smirk. She was probably asking herself if this priest-cum-accountant was dragging and dropping across his spreadsheets. Or perhaps she was basking in the great goods of her own marriage, passion, and being adored. Her husband Andrew was away, unavoidably detained on an important business trip, which undoubtedly made it easier for Vishali to idealize love marriages, especially her own. I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Varun. Next in nonfiction, Kelsi Steinkamp.
Hello. So this piece I actually wrote after the first time I attended an interloop reading, and I was just kind of reflecting on the way that words have changed my life. So this piece is about that. It's called The Forest's Eyes Watched Her Steal Away. I felt the power of poetry for the first time when I turned 13. It was my birthday, the ominous, forewarned entry into adolescence, and the first time my grandfather, a lifelong poet, gifted me a poem. Prior to this point, I had gotten only comedic one-liners and birthday cards that were always signed with his cartoon self-portrait. A rudimentary drawing done in pen depicting a man, bald, with the snout of a witch and nose hair that desperately needed trimmed. I came to wonder if this was how he saw himself. The poem spoke of an experience we shared together in the woods, building a tent from cut tree branches, blankets laid upon the ground where we slept among daddy longlegs as close to the dirt as our thin blankets would allow, until a storm awakened my grandma, who with a lantern came to gather us from the serenity of the forest and guide us to the fortified walls of the house that would protect us from the lightning to come. I cried as I read it. The words framed statefully behind glass set alongside a yellow feather we found on the forest floor that day. It felt as though I had finally crossed the threshold into his heart. something he could access only, as I learned over time, through written word. He spoke eloquently of the love the forest animals had for me as they watched me build home amongst them, their sadness as I stole away in the night, and their hope that I would return again soon. They would wait many years before that day came. See, as a child, my every breath was in touch with the life of the natural world around me. I ran barefoot without question, even when pierced by unexpected weeds and stung by bees, my toes needed to feel the naked earth seep between them. I covered every inch of my skin with mud from the depths of the river and implored my family to do the same. I wanted them to experience that magic and imagination, to feel the power of the earth melt into their every pore. I wrote in my first diary, sitting upon a tree stump, feet set in the gravel, and the discomfort of the bark making indented art on my skin, and the rocks serving as acupuncture for my soles were a small anguish that reminded me I can feel, that I am alive, grounded, and enduring, a comfort more intrinsic than any plush luxury. And then, man's world got a hold of me, which seems an irony. Man is nature. Shouldn't his world be one of reverence for and symbiosis with nature, that of which he is an inseparable element? Unfortunately, man's world is one powered by greed, where people are products, means to a self-serving end, one where the natural world is a hindrance, a simple aside to our human conquest. But its promises seduced me, so I left home. The little girl who once curiously watched a daddy longleg crawl across her sleeping bag as her eyes fluttered with sleep started to swat at bees and no longer stopped after a summer rain to move worms off the driveway and into the safety of the grass. I forgot my humanity was as much nature as the worms and the bees and the dirt that once held residence between my toes. And the deer in my grandfather's poem waited nearly 10 years for my return. But slowly, I have found my way back to them. And all that time, they never stopped calling to me. And every rainfall, every bird call, every breath of crisp fall air and fresh spring flowers, every deer looking me right in my eyes before bounding away, they've whispered gently, "We love you. We're here when you're ready." I truly believe that what rests at the core of us will always call us back. And my call back to nature is not unique to me. The humanity in each of us necessitates our connection to Mother Earth. We first must breathe her air and drink her water and eat of her fruit before we have the ability to do anything else. Eventually, I came back to what I knew as a child. It is not our job to conquer. Not the earth, not each other, not whatever is beyond us in the sky or below us in the depths of the ocean. It is our job to be a harmonious part of the systems among us. Truth be told, I think I felt the power of poetry long before I got that poem on my 13th birthday. I think I felt the power of words in my veins the moment my heart started pumping, because the natural way of the world has always spoken to me in poetry. The lovemaking of worms and the way the rain coaxes them out of the ground, only to bring them to their impending doom under the unforgiving roll of a car tire. A misfortune of our built world that their evolution could never have accounted for. The way I can sit for hours alongside the rush of running water, whether from a river or a garden hose, and feel my life force flowing softly through me. To me, words are the human incarnation of nature, because we, people, are nature. Our very experience is too part of the natural world, and poetry and literature and art and music and dance are our ways of attempting to translate the richness of our reality. It's our desperate cry, imploring others to understand, to see, the way we feel caressed by the breeze and are inspired by love and torn apart by love, and how we trample through grief and find companionship among the mountains that we can never feel alone. Then, Earth is speaking to us, always. Listen to her, and you too, without ever getting a poem from a kind, cartoon, bald, wise old man, will feel the power of poetry.
And speaking of poetry, next in poetry, Nico Penaranda.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to be reading 3 poems. This first one is called "What You Must Have Felt Like to Your Leather Jacket." Like a boy scratching out of his skin, all blood, sinew, and song, staining everything in God's house, so rich and so white, the angels squeezed the color out of you, made you forget you had any, till you found me in the clearance aisle and realized I too was made from stolen hide. This next one is a really new one. There's this dragon in Filipino mythology called the Bakunawa. He swallowed 6 moons and spat out the last one. It's supposed to be like a metaphor for eclipses, and I've been trying to figure out how to write it. So this is called There is Good Grief, Bakunawa. Are you finished, Bakunawa? You've swallowed 6 moons so far. I'm not sure it matters anymore who you lost, just that in their absence you raged. You wanted everyone to bear the weight of your empty life. But life rattles on, Bakunawa. Grief should not just be grinded, so please unclench your jaw. Cough up the rubble inside of you. I'll stay out here all night until you return to the vastness of all that you already were. I've got one more to read, and also next week I'm participating. I'm going to be a judge in the DC Poet Project, which is held by the Mid-Atlantic Review, and I'm very excited. If you would like to come out to it, please do. It's going to be at the Anacostia Library. This last one is called Some Questions I'm Embarrassed to Ask. How do I sleep with you? How do I actually fall asleep next to you? Should I lie and listen to your breath till I fall into my own circadian rhythm? Should I breathe in time with yours? How do your tattoos glow like that? How much of myself lately am I trying to hide? Is this what birds sing when they wish to please no one? Does your cat still think I'm a stranger? Is it weird if I put my pants back on? Why does the floor need to creak so fucking loud? I woke you up, didn't I? Do you want me to go? Thank you.
Next in fiction, Martha Ann Toll.
Thank you, Inner Loop, and thanks all of you for being here. I'm going to do a quick shameless self-promotion. This book, Duet for One, that I'm reading from, is coming out May 6th, and thank you. Come join us at Politics and Prose. We're going to have a violinist to play some of the music from the book, and a party afterward. They're all invited to. My first book, Three Muses, is about the Holocaust. It's about ballet. I left a card back there with folks. If you want to order it, it's available anywhere, and pre-orders are great. This is like a lot of shameless self-promotion. The last shameless self-promotion is that I do a weekly Substack under my name, which is a lot about books and music, and now about the Republic of Cruelty and how we deal with it and how we have community and try to deal with the onslaught that all of us are facing right now. So Duet for One is a love story, but it's also a story about grief. I'm going to read from page 1, where we meet Adam, who's 37 and a professional violinist, and he's at the graveside of his mother. And the book has really 2 love stories, his parents' love story, but particularly his story, his journey toward love. So I'm going to read from the very, very beginning, and then a section where Adam returns to his apartment, takes out his violin and plays all night, and kind of muses about his young love, Dara. Adele Pearl was dead, vanquished by ovarian cancer. Adam and Victor shivered at her graveside. Adam was 37 when his mother died. He was a violinist known for fluidity and grace. Victor was Adam's father, the surviving half of Pearl and Pearl, a world-renowned 2-piano team and joint piano faculty at Philadelphia's Caldwell Institute of Music. Out of the corner of his eye, Adam watched Philip Hissel hurry downhill. Hissel tripped, then bent to pick up his fedora from the damp, muddy ground. Instinctively, Adam moved closer to his father, although Hissel was too far away to create a disturbance. For this small knot of mourners, time paused and music slept. For Victor, Adele's death was a black hole that sucked in music. For Adam, a numbness. During those final weeks, Adam held vigil by Adele's hospital bed. Days stalled, lingered, and expanded. Adele's muscled pianist fingers puffed up and went slack. Beeping monitors played tunes as Adam meandered backward in time. He remembered in sitting in Adele's lap at age 4 as she drilled the differences between black keys and white ones, her perfume as specific as her instruction. He heard the tap-tap of her heels down the marble hallway as she left for a performance. He recalled being 7, lying beneath his mother's piano, mesmerized by her golden soundboard, his ear pressed to the floor to feel her resonant bass, her left-hand notes escalating downward. Her right foot, beribboned in a black pump, hovered over the right pedal for the next decrescendo, while the hammers above Adam's head thumped like a marching band. Growing up, Adam had awakened to Adele's practicing and gone to sleep to it. She was a severe taskmaster, hardest on herself. She thundered scales with a fierce dedication, 2 hands in parallel, 2 hands out from middle C and back again. Odysseys of departure, followed by daredevil returns, a ravenous that pushed her to the edge of sound, to be bigger, bolder, stronger, to puff wispy pianissimos and soar over rests. Music critics were rhapsodic about Adele and Victor Pearl. Pearl and Pearl created a rainbow of sound, Adele's yin to Victor's yang, recordings that sparkled with exquisite musicality. Adam, an only child, made them a family. Now we're going to find Adam late in the night after he's been playing all night after burying his mother. Adam had been playing for hours. Daylight was emerging, gray pushing away cobalt. He unscrewed his bow and slid a cotton handkerchief down the stick and under the fingerboard to clear away rosin dust. Then he tenderly dressed his violin in its blue satin bag. He lay down on his bed, closed his eyes, and thought of Dara in the rear of the viola section. He could see her, even after all these years, her green eyes and thick chestnut braid, her small breasts outlined by a black cardigan. She had no interest in fashion. She wore faded brown corduroy pants that were several sizes too large. She arrived at rehearsals lugging a backpack stuffed with books, her hands smeared in blue ballpoint ink, with a pencil stuck through her braid for marking the music. For concerts, she wore a floor-length black skirt over a scoop-necked leotard, nothing like the frilly blouses other girls wore. The way she embraced her viola, left hand in classic Isaac Koroffe position, bow arms circling downward, made Adam want to transform into a genie and hide inside it. He'd heard she married and was an English professor at Penn. What about the intervening years? Adam had been with other women, of course, fine musicians, everyone. What about Patty? Adam was sinking to the bottom of love's ocean, layers of pressure bearing down. He may as well be 21 again. He loved Dara that much tonight, or was it already tomorrow? He pictured Dara lying on his twin bed as she turned pages in a textbook while he practiced, saturating the room with sound. Her presence was reassuring, comforting. Dara, Adam said to no one in particular, my mother died. Thank you.
Next in nonfiction are Hybridy Lone Tran.
Thanks, the Interloop, for the opportunity, and transparently, I forgot what I signed up for, so this is all technically nonfiction, but it comes to you in the form of poetry. This first piece is included in the most recent edition of the Scholar and Feminist Online, Rage, Struggle, and Freedom, edited by Margot Okazawa-Ray and Elif Sarkhan, published by the Barnard Center for Research on Women. It's titled At the 31-minute, 53-second marker of Ken Burns' documentary series called The Vietnam War. A body moves across the field. 1 foot, 2 foot, pause. 3 foot, 4 foot, pause. Heel over toe, toe over heel, but do it fast. Hair loose in the wind. This is the only chance she has, for this is the end, and this is how it will end. Imagine being brave enough to carry the victory flag, to start running before it's all over, to be the woman wearing white grazing the eye. I wonder about her, the woman in white. I wonder if she counts to herself the steps she must take. I wonder if she practices. I wonder if she stays up by the glow of the fire, tending to this plan to be free, tending to her dance yet to be seen. I wonder how hard she grips the flag, if it is heavy for her. I wonder what else her hands have touched, what she has done with her fingers over and over and over again. I wonder how hard she squints her eyes or scrunches her brow. I wonder if her skin is naturally goldenrod brown or if that is new life on her face. I wonder who she kisses. I wonder if she would kiss someone like me. I wonder if she kisses as if there were no war. Thank you. The second piece here, it's included in a compilation of music and poetry by Artists for a Free Palestine. You can find it on Bandcamp. It's titled In Order to Hear the Birds, the Warplanes Must Be Silent. This work arises from an urgent need to express solidarity with Palestinians who are facing genocide in Gaza after decades of occupation, and it helps to generate resources for an international organization fighting for Palestinian liberation. All proceeds go to Palestinian Youth Movement, and the title of this album comes directly from a poem by Marwan Makhoul, a poet from Palestine born in 1979 in the village of Bokoya, Upper Galilee. It's titled A Prayer for the People. I have seen mountains of many kinds. I have seen the depth of water, the many lakes that open to something else. I have seen my mother cry. I have seen women beg. I have seen my father at his wit's end. I have seen prisons and the insides. I have seen what happens when you touch the core of this empire, how it punishes you. I have seen the lie that we choose to be alone. I have seen borders, and still I am not afraid to die. I am not afraid of Donald Trump. And for record's sake, if I had been alive, I would not have been afraid of Richard Nixon. I am not afraid of war. I am not afraid of drones, of junk, of tanks, of the Pentagon, of a draft, of facial recognition, of data mining, of surveillance. I am not afraid of fragile men, playing judge, jury, prosecutor, executioner, rapist, Klan, fascist in blue. I am not afraid of money and the distance greed travels to cover its tracks, the messes it makes, the blood it drags, continent over continent. I am not afraid of airports and its agents or the hands of its agents that attempt to train, test, fondle me, scanning for disobedience. I am not afraid of laws or the threat of them, or the facade of them, or the performance or plagiarism of them. I am not afraid to be brave. I am not afraid of my own tongue. I am not afraid to fight, to pull, to push, to keep moving. I am not afraid of history. I am not afraid of time. I am not afraid of the people. I am not afraid to love you. I am simply not afraid of you. I am not afraid of the morning sun. I am not afraid of the ocean. I am not afraid to be free in this terrifying planet of misfortunes and cages and heartache and pain. I am not afraid to sing. I am not afraid to break again and again. I am not afraid of how deep the night can be. I am not afraid to see the future. I am not afraid to believe that there is certainly something more. I am not afraid to open my door. I am not afraid to laugh. I am not afraid to take care. I am not afraid to close my eyes to sleep. I am not afraid to be known. I am not afraid to want. I am not afraid to feel everything and be honest about it. I am not afraid of change and changing. I am not afraid of being and becoming. I am not afraid to live. I am not afraid, for a wall is just a wall. I am not afraid, for a wall is just a wall. And if you'll say it with me, I am not afraid, for a wall is just a wall. Thank you.
Finally, in poetry, Jenn Koiter.
Setting my timer so I don't go over. I forgot to bring books, but I'd love it if you'd come talk to me.
Even better. Wow. All right. First, I want to read you a poem about self-pity. Is anyone else really, really remarkably good at that, or is it just me? Just me? Okay. I want to write you a love poem, but I am scared of losing you if I say I love you. Something stupid, as Sinatra sang, though he sounded cool admitting it. He's the only one. The rest of us, bless our yearning hearts, just sound pathetic. Oh yes, I will take all the pity I can muster today, just because you haven't texted back. I pick up a book, but the poet won't shut up about loneliness. I trace loneliness on my palm with my fingernail, knowing well how shame needs to be written invisibly where everyone can see. This one's a little longer. It's a narrative poem, which I don't do a lot of, so it's got a little story. Settle in. It's called Elegy for the Slow Mouse. When I saw the first mouse, I joked that it was like dating that screenwriter in LA, because he's cute and all, but why is he living in my apartment? I became an expert in catch and release. In the blue dome of the trap, I carried the mice away from my building's poison walls and the glue traps in other flats, awaiting their scream and struggle and slow, dried-out death. I brought them to the shady copse behind the way station of the Redemptorist Fathers I live in Brookland, that the prayers of the saints might cover them, and they no longer nibble through my tortilla bag. That was our rhythm, until a mouse wandered out in full daylight while I stood at the kitchen counter, juicing whatever fruits I could find to juice. Still too fast to catch, this mouse was slow for a mouse, old or sick or poisoned. My eyes could follow it from the fridge to the closet, to the fridge again, then under the stove. I sighed and made a mental note to set a trap, but then I glanced up to see the mouse peering at me over the top of the range. The mouse stayed. It looked and looked at me, and I looked back. I felt for my rubber glove, slid it on, and set my hand before the mouse. It climbed over my fingers to rest on my palm. Not enough is said about the strength of that gaze, how it can bear us into the hands of another. The mouse was light, so light I could barely feel the weight of it through my glove as I set it carefully in a cardboard box. This is the story, that inside the box I set a smaller box so the mouse could hide, that I gave it breadcrumbs and cashews and a cap full of water, that though I could not save it, I gave it a good death in a small, safe place.
By story here, I mean untruth. I took the mouse outside because I always take the mice outside, and they leap from the live traps and sprint into the ivy under the trees. There are worse things than meaning well, but few more hollow. I was halfway home before it struck me that this mouse had scrabbled to stay in the box, that it had come to me seeking shelter, perhaps, and I dropped it gently into terror, that it would die in terror, addled and panting in the alien green, shrinking from the too big, too bright sky. This is the real story, then, if there is such a thing. That once I had the trust of a tiny, feral thing. I think I broke it. Forgive me, mouse. You found me late. I assumed love meant I had to let you go. I'm gonna do it. All right, one extremely short poem. This is called A Beginner's Guide to Tasting Antidepressants. It's on a bus in Arlington somewhere. Lithium is salty on the tongue. Zoloft is bitter. Tricyclics taste like soap. You'll notice, though, when you first start each one, the same sweet aftertaste. That taste is hope. Thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for all the readers tonight. Thank you all for coming out. If you enjoyed any of the readings tonight, we highly encourage you to approach the writers and tell them how amazing they are, because they are not rock stars and this is their time to shine. So tell them how much you love them. Give them a hug, because we all need a hug right now. And
They are rock stars.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
they're rock stars. Come see Varun on Saturday at the Writers Center, 2 p.m. Come back for our 11th anniversary party on April 22nd at the Goethe Institute, and subscribe to our newsletter on our website. There's a QR code on the thing.
Oh yes. And if you read this evening, come on up front so we can get a photo of y'all. Yay!